Hello, so this is Tenderloin Tech Lab coming to you with this next section of Excel. So one of the things to know about Excel is that there are tabs at the bottom. You can have different worksheets in one. You can have different sheets, rather I should say. You can have different sheets in one worksheet. So right now you're working with payroll sheet. You see this payroll? Then we can click on addresses. There's the address sheet, charts, the charts sheet, functions, skills, answers, open sheet, budget. We go back to payroll. So we'll be working with payroll. So this is a travel agency. It has 6 employees: Bob, Mary, Beth, Maria, Anwar, and Jim. And they have various different hourly pay rates and number of hours worked. So what we would want to do is we want to calculate their weekly pay for each person. Also, we'd want to calculate how much they would pay in taxes and what would be the take-home pay after taxes are subtracted from weekly pay. So this worksheet, I've already calculated everything, and if you have downloaded, you'll also see everything calculated. But for the purposes of learning, you want to delete all those calculations and start afresh. So I'll show you. You see this cursor? This cursor can be of 3 different types. So first I want to explain to you the cursor. This cursor, when it's a thick fat cross, you can click on any particular cell and you can select different cells. So here I'm going to click on 168. You see 168, and if I click on it, you'll see D highlighted and 4 highlighted, which means it's cell D4. You can also see this, it says cell D4 right here. You see this? Cell D4. It also tells you the formula in that cell D4, which is C4 times B4. Let's look at cell number, let's look at the payroll for Maria, which is cell number D7. You see? So I'm going to click on 270, which is cell D7. So the result 270 is given in cell D7. The formula bar fx is the formula bar for each cell that you have selected. So you have selected, in this case, D7, so the formula bar is B7 times C7, or rather equal to B7 times C7. Alright, and it tells you, if you go to the top left of this sheet, it tells you right here, it's D7. The cell D7 has been selected. Let's say we want to select cell G9. Where do you think that would be? Okay, here's G and this is 9, you see? So we go G9, this is it, 331.93. So we click on cells G9 and you will see, if you go to the top right here, it tells you you have selected G9. And if you go to the formula bar, it tells you how G9 was calculated. It was calculated using D9 minus F9, which is D9 minus F9. The weekly pay minus taxes gives you take-home pay. So this tells you, in a sense, how different cells are selected and what those cells are right here, G9, and also tells you what the formula is within each cell. So 331.93 is the result of, right here, D9 minus F9. Alright, so let's say we want to select a range of cells. So this is one cell you have selected, which is D4, 168.00. Now if you select 2 cells, it's called a range of cells. So there it is, 168.00. You have selected D4 through D5. Alright, let's select F4 through F9. So we click on F4, You see the big fat cross or plus sign. So when you see that, it means you can hold down your left mouse key, okay, and drag it down all the way up to F9, and here you have selected cells F4 through F9. That's called a range. So F4 through F9 has been selected, and now I will show you how to select two different columns. Okay, so I'm gonna click here, for example, B4. So B4, so I'm gonna hold the left mouse key down and drag it across to 12. So I've now chosen two columns. I'm going to drag it down to 9, B9 and C9. So we have now chosen a range of cells starting with B4, you see this, B4, all the way up to C9. All right? Okay, so this is how you select cells. So let's get out of that. I'm going to click outside and come back in. Let's say come back into 168, okay, which is D4. Now, so that was one way of looking at the cursor with big fat plus. Now let's see what happens when you see another type of cursor. You see this? It's got 4 arrow keys. So this, if you see the big fat plus, you can hold down your left mouse key and select and highlight certain cells. But if you see this, you see, if you see this if you see these 4 arrows, it means you can move a particular cell. So now if you click your left mouse key down, hold it down, you can drag it somewhere else, right here, you see. So it goes right here. So 168 is removed from D4 and is landed up in I4 because that's where you placed it. We want to move it back again. So what I'm going to do is hold it down and move it back up to D4. All right? Okay. And let's now do it again. I'm going to put it here in J3, you see. And instead of moving it back, I'm going to undo this. All right? So how do I undo it? You see this cursor, this particular undo button right at the top, and you just click on that, and it undoes it and brings it back to D4. So that was the undo feature. If you didn't like it, if you liked leaving it at I3, you could redo it and go back to J3 rather. But I don't like it at J3, so let's bring it back. We undo it. Okay. So these were the two ways of using the mouse cursor, big fat plus, used to highlight certain selection of cells. We can use these 3 highlighted, and then we could move these 3 using the arrow key. The cursor should be a 4 arrow cursor that allows you to move. Now I'm going to undo this back here. So those were the 2 ways you can use this mouse cursor, big fat plus, and the 4 arrows. There's one more which I will show you in the next section.